Hello, welcome to the Chicago Bears Huddle podcast with me, your host, Owen James. Channel that brings you all your latest Chicago Bears news and your UK take on our Chicago Bears. Yes, that's right, we're over here in the United Kingdom, in Britain. Guys, it's recording here at 10 o'clock at night in the UK. Obviously, I know you're 6 hours behind us over in Chicago. No, we don't know what's happened 6 hours into the future in Chicago. That's hard to get your head around, isn't it? Anyway, we'll talk about that. Look, guys, welcome back. Welcome back to the channel. Been away for a few days, obviously. No video for nearly a week now, guys. Just personal reasons. Just recently lost my mum to cancer. We had a funeral today. It's been a really tricky week, a really hard week for the family. Losing my mum, it's a massive thing for us, and it's a huge hole in my life that's take some filling, guys. It's been tough. Right, let's talk Chicago Bears, guys. Let's get back on track. Let's talk a little bit of Coach Ben Johnson. Obviously, Ben Johnson spoke to the media post-mandatory minicamp today. Interesting. You know what? I think the overall thing you get, the message you get when you watch Coach Ben Johnson is the professionalism, the quality, the intensity, the whole kind of, the whole experience that he's looking for. He's looking for the best. He's not looking for second rate. He doesn't accept second best. He doesn't accept third best. He wants the best, and he will only accept the best. And that's what you got a kind of a message that kind of comes in. If you listen to everything he says, he talked about the left tackle position. He talked about Dondre Swift. He talked about DJ Moore. He talked about the whole kind of mini camp process and the whole training camp process that he's going through at the moment with the Bears. It's all about progression. It's all about intensity. It's all about getting better. It's all about doing things right. And he has a complete kind of, excellence complex, I'll call it. An excellence complex where he wants the best and nothing else is acceptable. And that's how you need to be. Winning franchises are not built on slackness. They're not built on allowing things to slide or allowing things to not go well. If you let the small things go, then the big things start to go wrong, and that's where things fall down. And, we've had that for far too long in Chicago, where the franchise has been a disaster and stumbled from disaster to disaster, particularly obviously under Coach Flus. But Ben Johnson is not that man, and he is very impressive in what he says. And I know it's words, and I know that it's just minicamp. I know it's football in shorts, and until we get to football in pads and we get to actual proper football, we'll never know exactly where we're up to until that moment. And I understand that 1,000,000%. Of course I do. Even as a dumb Englishman looking at your game. But there we go. Look, I think one of the biggest, obviously, he spoke about a number of different things. It was interesting what he had to say about the left tackle position, speaking about the left tackle position, and Kieran Amagaji, who are currently trying and taking turns with the ones for that left tackle position. Obviously, Braxton Jones not in the reckoning at the moment. It was interesting that Braxton wasn't even mentioned today. I know that's because Braxton is out, so he's not practicing. He's not part of the thing. I've still got my doubts as to whether Braxton is part of this team. Is kind of kind of part of the future of this team, whether or not he'll be still here. He could even be traded away. That's been certainly something that's been talked about. Whether this is going to be a pure left tackle battle between Kieran Amagaji and Ozzy Trapilo. Coach Johnson spoke about the fact that, as a whole, across the whole of minicamp, and, he said there's sort of 6 sessions now, he's seen progression, he's seen development, he's seen improvement, he's seen everything, from the boys, and that's not just Ozzy and Kieran, that's everybody. But he talked about, the left tackle position, been primarily about pass protection, about protecting your guy, about going one-to-one with the opposition's premier pass rusher and stopping him and shutting him down. And he talked about the fact that, obviously, it's early days, it's just football in shorts, and we're not seeing, obviously, the full true test of Kieran and Ozzy. But, he talked about the fact that they're both getting a test, they're both, working hard. He talked about the fact that Ozzy is very polished. He talked about the fact that Ozzy has a very professional mindset and, is very much switched on to, wanting to be the best and wanting to develop himself. There is a clear intention here, I think, to kind of look at one of these two guys as being that starting left tackle on week 1, especially obviously with Braxton Jones clearly missing quite a lot and probably missing some of training camp as well. I think, the hope within the organisation, very much from, if you go back to that Bears draft night video that went out, that Ozzy Trapilo is the man of the future. He is the man for this role. When you heard, the assistant GM calling out, we got our man. I think there's a hope that Ozzy develops and Ozzy comes through and Ozzy becomes that left tackle, doesn't he? And obviously, Coach Johnson spoke about the fact that at this lineup, and you see four players who are very much gelled together in Joe Tooney, Jonah Jackson, Drew Dolman, and Darnell Wright. And obviously, Kieran and Ozzy are that fifth part of that line. And obviously, he spoke about the fact that the four of them are starting to gel, starting to work together, are very much settled, as been the left guard, the centre, the right guard, and the right tackle for next season. But, it was really interesting that he talked, very much about the fact that, won't get this right straight away, and even week one they probably won't be 100% right. And I think we've got to kind of take that as gospel. It's not going to happen overnight. This is a new offensive system that has been put into place. It's by all counts a complicated offensive system, isn't it? It's a very complicated offensive system that Coach Johnson wants to put into place. And DJ Moore in his presser talked about the fact that you've got to study. If you're going to get it, you've got to study. I think that's the same for the offensive line. But obviously, I think, Drew Dolman, obviously the best centre in the NFC North now, especially after the retirement of Frank Ragnow, which obviously substantially weakens the Detroit Lions. Something that Ben Johnson was questioned about. But interesting comment around that left tackle position from Coach Johnson. He was also asked about D'Andre Swift. Now, there's obviously been massive questions over the Bears running back room. In fact, if you look at a lot of the written media and obviously ESPN, NBC, etc., there's a lot of kind of belief that the running back room is the weak position. It's the one position that the Bears haven't really addressed. Yes, they've got Kyle Monangai, who's that exciting 7th round pick. They've got Roshan Johnson. They've got others, but D'Andre Swift. Ben Johnson was asked about D'Andre Swift, and of course he's going to be asked about him. This is a guy he's worked with previously. This is a guy who there's obviously doubts over. There's a lot of Bears fans genuinely do not rate D'Andre Swift. They genuinely believe that we need something else, that running back position, whether that be J.K. Dobbins or Nick Chubb. But, he was asked about what are you going to get with D'Andre Swift, Coach Johnson? What are we going to see? He's talking about, when the lights come on, when you ask him to get 1 yard, 4 yards, that he's driven to get there. He talked about the fact that obviously he's called DeAndre in the past, that he obviously worked with him at Detroit. And he was there and he did a job for them. And, I think Coach Johnson, he spoke well of D'Andre Swift, certainly, but the kind of overwhelming message that I got from what he said was that it was not a exactly ringing endorsement of DeAndre. But I think there's a faith and a confidence that, if it comes down to it, that DeAndre Swift can deliver this season. And I think people kind of underestimate Swift to some degree, that that he was working last season behind a substandard offensive line with a substandard offensive coordinator, and that's things that obviously that Coach Johnson can't say. He can't come out and call out. He can't come out and call out Shane Waldron. That's just not what coaches do. So, there's that development prospect there. And I think D'Andre Swift, we've got to give him time. We've got to give him a chance. And I think, realistically, are the Bears going to go for someone? Well, yes, they still may go for someone like a Nick Chubb, a J.K. Dobbins, a Gus Edwards, a Jamal Williams, closer to training camp, with the way things are at this moment in time. But I don't think that's going to come anytime soon. And obviously a lot's going to fall on D'Andre Swift, who's looked good so far through OTAs and mini camp. But interesting comments nonetheless on that one. He was also asked about Cole Kmet and the experience that he brings. And he talked about the fact that Cole brings a lot of experience. He's probably the most experienced person on the roster and spent the most time with the Bears to this point. We talked about Cole's professionalism, Cole's commitment to excellence. And the way that Cole works, and I think it was good to hear, how committed Cole is, and I think Cole is for all the talk that people are talking about now, we've got Colston Loveland, we don't need Cole Kmet. You look at the way that Coach Johnson operates; he operates a lot of 12 personnel. I don't think this is going to go away from that. I think we'll see a lot of two tight end sets where you'll see Cole Kmet and Colston Loveland both there. Now, obviously, Colston's not practicing at the moment due to that recovery from the shoulder injury. So, we've still got to obviously wait to see what we get with Colston Loveland. But overall, I think you look at this presser today, and again, it's a very positive message across again. It's a development. There is a development there. There is a move forward there. But it's like I said, this, and as Coach Johnson said, this is not an offense that's going to be ready day one. It's not going to be ready week one. It's going to take time, to bed in. Pre-season will come. We'll see the practice go, and practice there. We'll see everything, we'll see those things, And he talked about the fact that, once bye week comes as well, that it's time then in the bye week to kind of try and put right anything that's gone wrong as well with this offense. So, it's a complicated system he's putting in place. It's going to take time. But overall, it's a confident message that's coming out of the organisation, and Coach Johnson speaks so well about it. And it's very impressive as well. Guys, I'd love to know your thoughts. Who's your left tackle for week 1? What do you think of DeAndre Swift? Oh, and the other thing he mentioned, I forgot this one, DJ Moore. He was asked a question about DJ Moore. He was asked about, why there'd been a fall off in DJ's production last year. Look, we all know, Shane Waldron obviously was a big part of that. Rookie quarterback, bad offensive line. Lots of reasons why that could have been. But, Coach Johnson is not going to stand there and say it's because Shane Waldron shit at his job, is he? And the Bears changed offensive coordinator and Coach Flus is crap and one of the worst coaches ever. He's not going to stand there. He's a professional. He said, your guess is as good as mine. I mean, what else do you want him to say? He's, like I said, he's not going to slag off a fellow coach, is he? He talked about the fact that DJ Moore had been used in the slot at some of these practices, and was that something that he saw as been a role for DJ? And he talked about the fact that Coach L, Antoine Randall L, it was moving guys around. He was trying to get different things. He was trying to get them running different routes and different ways of playing, and they were just looking at lots of different things. And this is the time to develop, to look at different things, to look outside, to think outside the box, to kind of think forward thinking and move things around. He talked about the fact that by the time they get to training camp, they'll start to establish routes, they'll start to establish route trees, etc., for these wide receivers, including DJ Moore. And let's face it, this wide receiver room is packed with talent, with Rome Odunze, who's looking fantastic, with obviously DJ Moore, with Almide Zacchaeus, with Luther Burden, with Colston Loveland, with Cole Kmet. There's just so much talent there. Guys, if you've enjoyed the content, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. And welcome back to the Chicago Bears Huddle, guys. It's a pleasure speaking all things Bears to you up as always here on the channel. Obviously, please hit that sub, help the channel to keep on growing as we seek to build our community across the pond, as we seek to link hands between Bears UK and Bears USA. Guys, Chi-Town down. Chi-Town up, sorry. I fucked that one up. How bad is that? It's because I've had a beer. Chi-Town up, bear down. Catch you later, Chicago.